French President Emmanuel Macron on Thursday urged European companies to suspend planned investment in the United States after President Donald Trump announced sweeping global tariffs on American imports. His comments followed President Trump imposing sweeping new levies on U.S. trading partners, including a 20% tariff on imports from the European Union. Macron made this call during a meeting with French industry representatives. The French leader said no response had been ruled out yet and suggested using the anti-coercion mechanism. Responses targeting digital services and looking at financing mechanism of the U.S. economy. He further stated that the response to the reciprocal tariffs would be more massive than its earlier retaliation to U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs. Macron described the tariff as brutal and unfounded and a shock for international trade, and that Europe must respond industry by industry. Since the time of President Donald Trump inauguration into office, the executive order he has signed has been one too many to count, and this is one out of them. We recall that recently there's been a 14% tariff on imports of goods into the country. Nigeria is inclusive of the country to pay the 14% of imports into the United States. There's been this clash with Canada and America over the tariff, including China, and then France is joining the queue of retaliation on saying that any imports that gets into the United States should be shunned at the moment. I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think that Trump is actually doing overly than he expected, or he's actually doing rightly in order to curb the whole misuse and manage the economy of the American states?
He's intentional. Trump is intentional about what he's doing, and you can see that he's focused. He is not being deterred despite the reactions. It's a government that is ready to deliver on his own mandate. Nigeria is being affected even as it is, but you hardly see any reaction. What we'll do is the Nigerians will just adjust and adapt to whatever feedback that we're getting from Donald Trump's action on the issues of increase in tariff and economic policies and decisions that have been taken. But you see Macron reacting. We're living in a sorry state. I wouldn't have to fault Donald Trump. I wouldn't fault him because I'm sure in the coming days, as we move forward, the world itself will begin to understand where Donald Trump is leading his people to and the American economy. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's your thoughts. Well, if we look at this, most states most countries have been affected by this whole tariff increase. China, and we know China as one of the foreign investment hub in the country. And do you think the suspension from Macron is not going to affect the United States, because there should be a lot of foreign investors in the United States? Won't other countries take the lead, just like Macron, just like France has done?
If you are not dependent, if you are independent of yourself and you are sure that you can be self-sustained to an extent, you wouldn't mind what is coming around, because you have a target.
Okay.
You have a target, and over time, everything will fall in place. That's the point I made.
Okay.
That when I say Donald Trump is very intentional, he knows where his government is heading towards, and just with time, you will see that most of the countries will have no option but to fall back.
To fall back to him, or
yes,
join?
Fall back to him, join, and then leave. Even some of the suspensions will be lifted. Yeah.
Okay. This is issue of Trump actually scrapped or put a hold on the U.S. aid that Nigeria actually benefiting from. Do you also say that is one of the moves that is beneficial to the American states.
That's beneficial to the American state. I want to tell you that.
I also wanted to say something. We know that, yes, there was this allegation that the Nigerian politicians, or not the politicians, the Nigerian heads are using the USA to sponsor terrorism in the country. I don't know if you had something like that at some point. And we know that that could be a reason why Trump had to take a step back in order to halt it. At the time, there was a time that they wanted to have a 90-day check into it to know if the aid would be reduced or scrapped entirely. But after the whole allegation of the terrorism, using the US aid on terrorism in Nigeria, he had to take a backward. This US aid, we know what it's funding, the health, and he has decided to put a halt on it. And this is one out of so many, like I stated from the beginning, one of the executive order that he has implemented. Is this also a good call?
Should I insist on my position?
Sure.
That Nigeria would have to sit up. It doesn't matter what decision Trump has taken. It doesn't matter whether we're still getting the intervention from the UN or not.
Okay.
Nigerian would have to wake up to our responsibility because we are an independent country.